Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Everyone knows the second most famous line from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and you're undoubtedly now thinking of the most famous line. You're also breathing manually, and your tongue has weight. Sorry, not sorry. But what people often forget about Hamlet's famous monologue is that for the time it was earth-shatteringly brilliant. Much of the same way Freud is tossed to the side these days because his successes were so profound, all that's left of him were his failures. Shakespeare's Hamlet falls for the same reason. It was so ahead of its time that after 400 years, it has finally become old. We all deal with existentialist crises in our neat first world bubbles all the time, and as such, Hamlet's mope session about his dead daddy makes a generation of children raised without dad roll their eyes and go back to Candy Crush. Is that still a thing? We'll pretend it's a thing. However, existentialist crises aside, I still contend Hamlet's monologue should remain one of the greatest pieces of prose of all time, mainly because even after 400 years, the secondary nature of it, duality, is still forefront in Western culture. Hell, our entire movie industry has been dominated by the topic of duality since Hollywood figured out Kubrick was onto something with Full Metal Jacket. Duality has become an even more important maxim as politics, especially American, has devolved into a binary without the existence of a duality. The other side is a bunch of ists, right? Socialists, racists, can't get out of the fucking turn lane because going up one more block is too hard ists. And their silly claims have no dual meaning, no depth, nothing good that could come out of such trite because things are binary, black and white, but not dual. Which brings me to tier lists. To be or not to be. Come on, that was smooth as shit. Don't roll your eyes. Wait. Word is telling me that this may be offensive. What? No, Word is trying to censor me. Fuck you, Word. I'm the writer. So as always, I have to start with disclaimers because demanding people take 10 minutes to hear something is asking a lot. So to start, there are tier lists I like. I'm not going head-to-head with Dark Humility on jack shit about his tier lists. I mean, did you watch those videos? They're like 4 hours long, and almost every build contains relevant information on why it's ranked that way. Like, damn, the timestamp editing probably took longer than I did testing Corpse Explosion. Surprise, it's good, and I didn't even build it right. Moreover, we have the popularity problem, where a small YouTuber like me gets a day of flaming because I thought Whirlwind sucked. But a bigger person who ranks a build or two gets his name put into class discussion infamy on Discord. By the way, I think I said Whirlwind was carried by OP weapons and the skill was clunky to the point of unusable for people who haven't played it for 20 years as a main. And surprise, the OP weapons got nerfed and Whirlwind was changed. So fuck you, Barbs, I was mostly right. Either way, we should keep in mind the size of the audience matters, not just the motion of the ocean here. So to the meat of it, tier lists, well, what are they for? Well, they provide some good and certainly some bad, but after the beta testing and finally following the class discussion channels on Discord and the closed beta feedback and seeing Reddit post outrage from people openly admitting to not testing things, I have to ask if tier lists do more good than they do damage for us as a community, because a lot of the stuff that comes out from you guys really is over-the-top nonsense. And I have no good way to say this other than we are wrong so often, and I'm not sure any tier list is doing as much damage as we are as a community. Anyway, though, do tier lists serve the casual player, allowing them to skip needless hours of research to have fun effectively? Or do they serve the personalities producing them in a vain attempt to suck up as much viewer content as possible during a short window? Do they have unsustainable flaws that make the entire endeavor worthless? Or are those flaws just kind of a minor blemish on an otherwise spotless mirror reflecting back at us, the community, about the content we consume, need, and want? Well, duality, not binary. Not binary. There are obviously all of these things. That's it. End of essay. Later, host. No. I think the deeper problem here is how we view responsibility in a gaming community. If you've been a part of any game decline, I've sat through WoW, Old Republic, Madden, and COD personally. We often as gamers place sole responsibility on the developers for failure to responsibility. It's easy to see why this is the case for larger AAA studios who merely need to produce a flashy piece of content that caters to as wide of an audience as possible. And gamers being fairly young and similar, I mean, this is a failure that should be easy to avoid provided your pockets are deep enough. Yet we've seen the rise of indie studios with hits like Valheim where AAA studios fail. In this case, we have a binary, not a duality. It's the fault of the developer. Project Diablo 2 just doesn't fit into this mold though, does it? Not just because it's a mod, which gives some leeway, and not because the team is small and volunteer, which gives them a lot of leeway. No, it's because this development team is damn good, and we all know it. I mean, sometimes people come with legitimate criticisms that might need to be addressed, and we jump on those assholes like Charlie Sheen on a cocaine-infused hooker, defending our precious daddy senpai and his disciples from all criticism. And not without merit, by the way, because the number of shitheads who complain about nonsense is higher than those who have constructive feedback, in my opinion. But hopefully you get the point. Here we have a duality. There are legitimately two sides to this coin. A small volunteer development team coupled with the age and now older lifestyle of our player base means the responsibility for continuing this game falls on a group outside of the developers. It's largely on us. So you don't need to be a known name, and known names, they don't produce as much as the unknowns. I mean, why the hell do I deserve 700 subscribers? Seriously. I don't meme as well as Chug or Horny Vegan, who is my new favorite YouTube channel ever. Go check that out. I don't have a fraction of the game knowledge of the Wheat Woog combo, DH, or Darmy. You know, I don't have as much fun as Frankie or Thwerk or BT, but here I am outpacing, well, a few of those names for no other reason than swearing is fucking funny, I guess. But I think I've tried to stick to, and I have failed myself at this, is I do take my own perceived responsibility for making good content seriously. Really, I do. There's about 50 unfinished videos on my YouTube because they didn't pass the QC testing when I showed them to people, which is basically just did they laugh a few times, but they're still unpublished. I've even cut off my power ranking series for now and or outsourced it because I started pumping out a video on a class I didn't know. I spent 4 hours testing it, which I guess is decent, and grading everything a 5 out of 10. I just felt like a fucking tool for producing meaningless garbage. Also, I ran out of facts, guys. I need to do more history before I can do more funny introductions. Which brings us to duality. Well, I think tier lists are stuck between being useful knowledge and clickbait. They're both and neither at the same time. I think it's an honest attempt to personify one's own personal responsibility to the community to provide good content, while also being self-aggrandizing. It's a bit of a conflict of interest in the same way late-night talk show hosts work. They need to make you laugh, but once they offend you, they can retreat into their shells and say, well, I'm just a comedian, don't take me seriously. You know, YouTubers pull this same trick by just pumping out the next video and hoping you forget about the mistake. But that's an abdication of responsibility they have to the audience when they tackle serious topics, comedian by training or otherwise. Luckily here, I think that can be fixed easily. I mean, tier lists need to be well researched, but I think they need to include an addendum. There needs to either be a 4-hour-long video where you spend enough time to go over the nuances of the class, or areas that won't work well, or hell, even just a line about who tested it and where they did it, guys. But time spent is not equal to effective product produced. If I spent 20 hours on your divorce when a normal divorce takes 10 hours and I lost, you'd be pissed with me, and rightfully so. You know, I think people for example, took my last video out of context, as it happens, when I talked about how hard it is to define casuals. But that doesn't mean we don't care about the guy with little playtime, because he's still a valued member of, well, us. If you place a class that doesn't do well in 90% of content at the top of your rankings without context, that's on you, especially when a small disclaimer was just all that was needed. You know, making content is a job is a dream for some people, and tier lists are great content bringers, but they suffer from the duality of a large product produced for a relatively large population in that they cater to the lowest common denominator. The guy who just pauses your video and reads the list. And I get it, YouTubers, I do. I can't name the number of times I've written a long essay like this one only to have some jackass pick it apart on one paragraph and tell me I'm wrong. But these tier lists are getting sloppy. And you have a self-interest here of not becoming a community mob target, or else you'll be stuck playing D2R for eternity. And Diablo 4 for 6 months before that fails. Sorry, I'm a pessimist. But you shouldn't produce things when you're large enough to know it might affect those looking to you for help. I'm guilty of this myself. See, the Power Ranking series canceled because the joke became me really attempting to review a requested class. I failed at the very thing I'm complaining about, and though I desperately tried not to become the person that would worry about failing my viewers. So ego aside, I hope I'm the person to say, stuck between the duality of memes and seriousness, that tier lists need to get better. They need more nuance. They need more personality. They need more YouTubers. Luckily, that's what got you where you are in the first place. Just do more of it, and less of the clickbait. Return to monkey, reject modernity, and embrace the duality of it. Later, guys.